Warning, this show may contain some crude humor and mild swearing. Listener discretion is advised. The show was produced by Geek Happy Network, creators of the very best in audible oracle entertainment. In other words, podcasts. If you enjoy listening to Smörgåsbord, remember to subscribe to the show in Spotify or on your favorite podcast app. Remember to leave a review. We'd love to hear your thoughts. This is Smörgåsbord!
Welcome to Smörgåsbord, a show where we explore the rituals, myths, and all things strange about the world of food. I'm Mik, and here with me is my co-host, again with the air horns.
Angel.
Angel has an obsession for air horns today. And today, we're covering the most popular food in America.
Chinese food.
Chinese food that's made in America.
Not China. The one thing that's not made in China.
Yeah, isn't it crazy? But still made by Chinese.
Yes.
Weird. Did you know that there are more than 40,000 Chinese restaurants in the United States?
No.
You do now.
Thank you for that number.
That's actually way more than the number of McDonald's, which is only about 14,000.
Oh, that's actually a low number.
Yeah. Well, I mean...
I guess I was imagining a lot more.
50 states.
Some of them only cows live in.
Yeah. So that's like 2,400. No.
I can't math.
240. 280 McDonald's
per state.
That sounds like a lot.
Depends on how sparsely populated it is.
Yeah, that's true.
But anyway, it's a lot.
It's a lot. And 40,000 is even more. That's like 800
per state.
Nice. That's a lot of Chinese food. Today we'll cover the brief history of the proliferation of Chinese restaurants in America, and why the cuisine here is so much more different than actual Chinese cuisine, and what on earth Chinese cuisine is actually like in China. And I guess we'll also look at some examples. So how did this all happen? Well, funny
immigration?
Enough, yeah. Immigration was how Chinese food got into America. And in some ways, it was the legal system of America which really helped the rise of Chinese cuisine in America. But like everything that doesn't come from the States, it also has its history in racism.
Yay!
Classic. There'll be a time in the world history where racism's just going to be synonymous with being American.
I mean... For some of us, we're already at that point.
Yeah, I guess so.
The more woke.
Yeah. During the late 19th and early 20th century, as many as 300,000 Chinese workers arrived to America only to be treated as second-class citizens. Surprise. Often getting paid lower wages aside from being treated like crap. Eventually, the U.S. changed their minds on their immigration laws and just barred the Chinese from immigrating further, even making it hard for the Chinese who've already entered America legally from re-entering if ever they do leave the country. But there were some exceptions to this. Some Chinese business owners could get merchant visas, for example, that allowed them to travel to China primarily for recruitment purposes. Most of these business owners were owners of laundromats, looking to bring in more Chinese workers to work with them. Essentially, jobs Americans didn't want to do, from what it seems.
Of course.
So,
I mean, it's still kind of that way.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of made sense back then, bring immigrants in just to get them to do the jobs that your regular citizens don't want to do.
Except now, they're like, immigrants are stealing all our jobs. Yeah, the jobs that you don't want in the first place.
Yeah, exactly. So, but what did these have to do with Chinese food? Well, in 1915, the U.S. included restaurants to the list of businesses that can get merchant visas. To the Chinese, this created a loophole to immigrate. It also led to a boom in Chinese restaurants in the United States. The boom was so big that between 1910 to 1930, the number of Chinese restaurants in America nearly quadrupled. A good amount of that happening in New York.
Woohoo!
Now, while this growth seemed to suggest that it was easy to acquire merchant visas, it was far from it. Restaurants needed to be of a high grade or quality restaurant. They needed to have some sort of big time investment, in other words, some people with money, and to have had the business owners to have managed restaurants for a certain amount of time before they could apply for the merchant visa. They also required the support of American witnesses, in other words, white people, to sign their visa application. But the Chinese immigrants did find a way around a lot of these. So working together, for example, they would pool their money together to open a restaurant, and then each investor in that restaurant would then take turns managing the restaurant until they each reached a merchant status. Once they got that, they would go back to China, or they would apply for the visa, get the visa, go over to China, and hire/bring their family over. When it comes to finding
teamwork.
It was pretty good teamwork. And when it came to finding American witnesses, well, they would just use their vendors or suppliers to sign the papers for them. Kind of this whole, I don't know, quid pro quo,
Quid pro quo? Quo?
Relationship going on, you know. The vendors can sell their wares to these Chinese restaurants, and all they got to do is sign some papers.
It's a circle of racist capitalism.
Yeah. But they're all helping each other out, I guess. But just because there were a ton of Chinese restaurants usually doesn't mean success. You'd think if there's so many restaurants, and why have some of them not fail or something? Well, the rest of these restaurants also kind of were supported by the growing popularity of Chinese food at the same time. Americans came to love Chinese food, whether for kind of eating something different or breaking the status quo of traditional American food.
Which is potatoes.
Potatoes, yep.
Bread and potatoes.
Or it being a cultural experience. Or simply because most of these restaurants were open late at night, allowing those up late at night, partying or whatever, to have a place to eat.
Oh yes, this is why Richmond is a good place to be.
True, there's so much Chinese restaurants here that are open late. When it comes to the popularity of it as well, I think a big part of it also came to the Chinese chefs who ran the restaurant. Rather than trying to force traditional Chinese food into the restaurants, which tend to be very different from the palates of Americans, they instead changed the flavors and recipes to fit the American tastes and needs. For instance, American palates prefer spicy, sweet, and crispy tastes, which led to popularity of things like sweet and sour pork or lemon chicken, which aren't really common dishes in China. Or if they are, it's a very different variation or recipe.
There's less sweet things in actual Chinese food.
Yeah.
If any. Like, I can't think of any traditional dishes that's actually, like, sweet and tangy. Like, that's not a thing.
Exactly. Another American preference is for sauces rather than using the meat flavors. So this is why you'll see a lot of Chinese dishes here often are heavy with sauces, or the meats are often cooked with strong sweet and spicy flavors. So again, think about sweet and sour pork, or
lemon chicken, orange chicken,
beef and broccoli, I think, which is like just doused in ridiculous amount of oyster sauce.
Right.
One other cause to the difference of flavors are also from the availability and preference of ingredients. So if you think about things like gailan or other Chinese vegetables, you don't really get a lot of that grown here. So obviously they couldn't use those vegetables when it came to cooking vegetables here. Americans also tend to prefer meats like beef, chicken, or pork, or vegetables like potatoes or tomatoes, which aren't necessarily always what you get from Chinese cuisine. Another thing is the preference of Americans for dairy, which isn't a thing for Asian people, because most Asians are lactose intolerant.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I'm blessed to not be one of them. I can eat a lot of cheese.
But you also don't eat rice, so...
What does that have to do with lactose?
It just puts the question whether or not you really have any Asian blood in you.
Yeah, I can't drink alcohol, so...
Yeah. Okay.
There.
Fine.
Proof.
Fine. Another preferential difference is how Americans only prefer to eat certain cuts of meat rather than eating other parts of the animal, such as such as ears or bone or tongues.
Chicken feet.
Or chicken feet, yeah, exactly.
Which I still don't understand as a concept. There's no meat on it. You're just eating like
It's
skin
just
and claws.
It's the flavor and the texture, really. So that's another big difference
They're
between
both
Americans and Chinese, is that the textural differences and preferences are very different between Chinese and American palates. So a lot of Americans don't really like the jelly-like texture of tendons or chicken feet, exactly. Whereas
Pig's ears.
pig's ears is another one, or tongue and stuff like that. Whereas in Asia or in Chinese cultures, they like having different levels of texture in their food rather than just crunchy.
God, I feel so American right now.
I mean, think about a lot of yeah.
Like, I can't eat chicken feet because it tastes like goosebumps.
Yeah.
And I don't like the crunch of the pig's ears.
Yeah.
It's weird.
See, that's a big reason why a lot of the food in Chinese restaurants here had that change or evolution, because they had to adapt to that preference.
Non-preference.
Yeah. The difference could also even be seen when it comes to meat types. So in America, there's a big deal about eating white meat over dark meat, whereas in China, or even Asia, as we talked about in the last episode with Japan,
Dark meat.
it's a preference for dark meat and chicken rather than white meat.
Okay, so here's a question.
Yeah.
I actually don't know what's the physiological difference between dark and white meat. Is it a darker chicken?
That's a good question. From what I know, it's the texture you get out of it.
Right.
White meat.
They do taste different. I just don't know like what makes it different. Is it different kinds of chicken?
No, it's
or
the
is it
same
processing?
chicken. It's the kind of cut of chicken. So the same how you have different parts of the beef have like different levels of fat.
Right.
Like so a T-bone is different from a sirloin. It's because where you get it from the beef or the cow makes it a different type of meat.
Oh, okay.
It's the same thing with the chicken. So
I thought you can have dark and white drumsticks.
Not that I know of.
Oh.
I know drumsticks are dark
White?
meat.
Dark? I don't know. I can't tell.
From what I remember, when you cut up a chicken, the thigh and leg area is the dark meat, and then the white meat is the wings.
Okay.
And
the breast.
ribs and breast area.
Okay.
I think when you're talking about the drumstick, it might be the wing drumstick.
Oh, okay.
So the wing itself is a mixture of light and dark meat.
Marbled.
That's what I think.
Like an Oreo.
Yeah,
But chicken.
exactly.
Chicken Oreo.
We'll go through a number of different of these American Chinese dishes, and kind of I looked into a little bit of the history of it as well. One of the most common ones is General Tso's chicken.
Oh, yeah. I used to order a party trough of that.
Yeah.
So I really liked it.
So what is in a General Tso chicken? I don't
It
remember
tastes
eating
different from restaurant to restaurant.
Right.
But the general consensus is a slightly sweet and salty sauce thing poured over like fried. Or, yeah, I think it was fried.
Right.
Fried chicken. Like
Okay.
breaded in some
Okay.
way.
Right. So like this one, General Tso himself was an actual person, but the chicken itself wasn't. There's no really historical accounts of a guy named General Tso
Making chicken.
making chicken. Probably just named after the guy. This was thought to be believed to be made back in New York in the 1970s. But it also has some historical accounts being found in Taiwan back in the 50s.
Ooh.
But no, not by a guy named General Tso.
No.
Another common Chinese thing that is definitely not from China is fortune cookies.
Yeah.
So fortune cookies were actually created in California through Japan. It was a Japanese snack called omikuji senbei, which is a rice cookie with a small piece of fortune inside. So really, nothing really much about it being Chinese in history, but a lot of it kind of was picked up by Chinese restaurateurs in America to try to attract more people in it. So it was a way to kind of
I mean, when
It
I
was a
was
marketing
little,
tactic.
it was my favorite part.
Yeah,
Dinner.
right? It was like this cool thing that, ooh, I could get my fortune after eating.
The holy grail is if you get 2 pieces of paper in one cookie.
What if it's 2 bad things? You get to
I
pick
don't
which
think I've
bad thing.
ever had a bad one,
Oh,
which
wow.
is pretty biased
Yeah,
because they want to make you feel good.
it's true.
But they're also
I never
so
got
vague.
the you will get very graphic indigestion one.
You will have explosive diarrhea. Good luck.
Another dish would be something like the egg foo young, which is created by immigrants from Canton coming into Canada or into America. This one was egg foo young does have its histories in China, but then tweaked again to fit the American tastes.
I actually don't know what egg foo young is.
It's like a pancake with vegetables and stuff, and then you put like a mushroom sauce, I think, or gravy on top of it.
It's just one of those things I never wanted to order.
Yeah. It never looked good, you know? Like,
Yeah.
every time I saw one, it just looked gross.
Like a sad egg pile.
Yeah.
Now I want to go try one.
Yeah. As we mentioned, lemon chicken is another one that's very, very popular, but not really... The way lemon chicken is cooked here is very different from the way lemon chicken is cooked in China.
Yeah,
So
I feel like here they just use like Tang. Just get
Yeah.
a bottle of Tang.
And then deep fried chicken usually, and it's usually deep fried chicken breast.
And they
usually
throw it
don't-
in Tang.
And they throw it in Tang. Lots of Tang. So as we mentioned, the fried chicken element was a way to get the crunchy crispiness of the flavor that Americans preferred, and obviously making it extra tangy and sweet appealed more to the American audiences, while I believe in China it's not even deep fried, and definitely they don't really use a lot of white meat.
No, I don't think there's a lot of things that are deep fried.
Yeah. No,
in
not
China.
really.
No.
And probably had the chicken in whole pieces of chicken rather than boneless the way it is here.
Yes. If you have authentic Chinese food,
Yeah.
there's bone in everything.
One dish that's definitely probably something you can't find in China is chop suey, which I believe is just translated from Cantonese as assorted pieces,
Assorted pieces.
or a bunch
Not
of shit
just
thrown
a
together.
great song by System of a Down.
Yeah, not just that. This one was definitely just created in the States. It was kind of just a mixture of different stuff. I think the history seems to have come back in the earlier times of Chinese immigration during the gold rush in the 1800s or middle 1800s, where it seems like a bunch of drunken miners came into a restaurant or a place with a Chinese owner and just demanded food, so he just kind of threw a bunch of old food together into a plate and fed.
Take that.
Yeah, they just kind of put a bunch of soy sauce in it and then was like, here, try it.
An
Which-
adequate way to deal with drunken children.
Yeah, exactly.
Here's
And
some trash. Put it in your mouth.
That was how chop suey was created. Another one is mushu pork. Now, mushu pork actually does exist in China, but as we mentioned, it's pretty different. A big part of it is that mushu pork in China would include things like woody or fungus or carrots or whatnot, while the one here definitely does not involve that.
I really like woody or fungus. It sounds gross.
I've never tried it.
Anything with the
I'd
word
be curious.
fungus in it just doesn't sound good.
Sounds like something
But-
that comes out of your feet.
It's crunchy.
That sounds good. I'd be down to try it. I've never tried it. I've actually never tried mushu pork even here.
I don't
The
think I
mushrooms.
have either.
Yeah. But it's like a crepe-like pancake of sorts with stuff in it. I don't know.
We
Seems good.
we should go Chinese food.
Yeah, I'm down. Another one that is far from how it is in China, although it does exist, is sweet and sour pork.
Emphasis on the sweet.
And the sour. Yep.
More tang.
More tang here again, as usual. There are a bunch of other stuff too. There's a long list of stuff, and maybe one day we'll do an episode going through the history of each and every one of these, or maybe just trying all of them. It's a lot. But egg rolls is another one where... again,
Another
the
deep fried.
Deep fried
Yeah.
and definitely American made here. Orange chicken is another one that was definitely not made in China. It was created in 1983 by Panda Express is what they like to
Nice.
claim. At least that's Panda Express's claim to fame. Again, a big way to think or realize this is probably an American creation was because orange chicken does not have bones in the chicken. It's usually boneless chicken. It's super tangy and sweet.
And
it's
fried.
fried.
I think that's the recipe for win.
Yeah.
You fry it and you put tang on it.
Yeah, pretty much. But that's really, yeah.
That's it.
If you go to a Chinese restaurant and you want to figure out which stuff is American and which one is Chinese and which one is American Chinese, you ask those 3 questions. Is it sweet?
Is it deep fried?
Is it deep fried?
What's the third question?
Are there bones?
Are there bones?
Or
Yes.
is it a usual? Are there any body parts of an animal that you don't usually see?
Intestines.
Yeah.
Pig's feet.
Yeah. Those ones are definitely not of this. I think lo mein and chow mein also have different variations here compared to
China.
food in China. Yep. There's also crab rangoon, which is definitely not
I don't even know what that is.
Chinese. It's a wonton wrapper with cream cheese in it.
Oh, I love that stuff.
Oh, that's the other one. Is there dairy? If there is dairy, it's definitely not from China.
Yeah, those deep fried wontons with cream cheese.
Yeah. Chinese chicken salad is another one.
Yeah, there's no such thing as salad.
Exactly.
We cook
Most
our
food is
vegetables.
cooked. Yes. So I think it's worth asking the question then of what the heck is actual Chinese food. And from what I've read up on and really come to understand, it's kind of a very hard question to answer. China is massive with so many different people and so many different subcultures that you can't really just explain one type of food as Chinese food.
Every region has their own thing.
Yeah. So it's the same way of saying, I don't know, that Chinese food is like European food. You know?
Yeah. It's just not divided into clear countries.
Yeah, exactly.
One big thing with many little things.
When it comes to Chinese cuisine, it seems like there is 8 main regional cuisines, but that doesn't mean that within that one region is only one type of cuisine. You could usually find a bunch of micro cuisines in there. Generally speaking, though, when you look at Chinese food, it's very different to Western cuisine because of the food available and the food that they choose to use. So you see things like fungi or dogs or turtles or frogs or insects or different animals that they would try to eat. It's not just stuck to the big chicken,
the
shrimp,
3.
fish,
Beef, pork.
and beef. Yeah.
Yeah.
When it comes to also vegetables, you also see a wide variety of different vegetables. It's not just lettuce, whatever else Americans eat, potatoes.
Potatoes, lettuce,
Yeah.
cabbage.
Sometimes, yeah.
Sometimes.
You could see things like bok choy or bamboo shoots or bitter melon or radishes, lotus pods, tofu,
Tofu.
or mung beans and stuff
Delicious.
like that. I think when it comes to the philosophy or approach, when it comes to also eating, I think there's a level of how in China they accept the food very different from the way Americans accept it. There's a level of health for sure when it comes to it, and some medicinal way of eating food. So it's not just you could eat French fries every day, you know, like there's a way of, if you feel sick, you could eat this. If it's a different season in the year, you could eat that as well. So it's...
You don't want to be like that girl that only eats chicken nuggets for like 12 years of her life.
Exactly.
And then she gets violently ill when she doesn't eat nuggets.
Yeah, exactly. When it comes to, I think, the Chinese cuisine, it's seasonal and also health dependent when what you eat. So think about, I guess, when you're sick here, you eat chicken noodle soup or something like that. But this one's a more complex cuisine than just
It's
that.
not just one thing. It's
Yeah.
a plethora of things.
I think another big thing is because refrigeration or cleaning stuff isn't common in China, everything is either cooked or served hot, so you don't get, like you mentioned, salads or whatnot in China. Which sounds like a great place to eat.
Mm-hmm. I do like warm food.
Yeah, imagine, paying $21 for food that someone actually prepared and cooked, rather than just chopped and tossed.
I had a salad at Disneyland that was $21.
Jesus.
It was just like half a head of lettuce.
Yeah.
They just chopped it in half and put some bacon on it.
Yeah.
I was like, wow.
Sounds great.
Lunch.
Love it. Another thing is, like we mentioned, there's very, very, very few deep fried foods in China, even no matter what region you're at. Generally, stir frying is more common, but not really deep frying. Yeah, and when it comes to the different cuisines, there are so many different cuisines, and like we mentioned, it's really broken into 8 different ones. We're not really going to go through all of this. Maybe we'll do it in a different episode or something, but it's really cool to look through them. You could really see the difference because of the regions. So some places have more rivers, some places are more mountainous, some places are more fieldy, or have more of different vegetables or whatnot, and they really find a way to kind of bring that to light.
Eat local.
Exactly. It's I think they kind of come to embrace what they have in front of them and make the best out of it rather than force something else.
Yes, it's unnatural to have pineapples.
Yeah.
All time of the year.
Yes. So I think it's kind of cool because of that, you get this really wide variety of things.
You should try some fungus.
I
It's really
should.
great.
But, I mean, like, is it like mushrooms, though? Because then if it has
It's mushroom
gouty stuff, then...
Right. I would do some research on that.
Yeah.
I don't know about the properties of different fungi.
Right? Yeah, I don't know. I'm down to try it, though. I mean, it's just pain.
It's just pain.
Here's the ambulance
Alright,
coming to save me already.
Just pop an Advil before you have some fungus. You're fine.
Yeah, I'll be fine.
Man up.
Yeah, sure. So when it comes to the question of is it good, though, I think it comes to taste preferences. There's obviously there are purists or whatnot who will claim that it's wrong what they did with American Chinese food, but to be honest, all that food was created by the Chinese.
Right.
To serve an American audience.
It's all about marketing.
Yeah, there's nothing. I don't
Using taste.
exactly. I don't think there's anything wrong about American Chinese food.
I don't
It's
feel
just a
like food
different
needs to
cuisine.
be authentic for
Yeah.
you to enjoy it.
I mean, in some ways it is authentic, right?
Yeah.
Like it's Chinese people who made this food.
Just like relocated.
Yeah,
So, languages shift, so do cuisines.
exactly. And I think obviously it seems like food in China sounds more healthier than the food
I mean, yeah.
American Chinese food. I'll give them that.
Right.
I'm definitely down to try a lot of this Chinese food, though. I think in Richmond, I think it's hard to find authentic Chinese food, but I think or at least for me, because I don't know what to get,
I don't either.
but you can kind of, I don't know, tell the difference as well with like more Chinese places than ones that are trying to cater to American audiences when you look at the food they serve, because there's less fried food.
Yes. No, you can tell. You can definitely
Yeah.
tell the difference. You just have to find the hole in the wall places.
Exactly. Yeah. When it comes to what we're eating, I think I'm gonna go eat some dim sum tomorrow.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
I don't know. I take each meal as it comes.
Yeah.
I don't plan ahead for that.
That's fair. It's nice to see you evolve though from just eating hummus to now eating food.
Nothing. Yeah, I don't even have a stock of hummus
No,
at my house now.
that's good.
I've upgraded.
You've grown so much in these past 11 episodes. It's nice
I've
to see
transcended
growth.
reality.
That's great. I can't wait to see where you're at in episode.
Yeah, you know what? I have some
20.
haichu in my pocket that
Oh,
I
wow.
got from my car mechanic. It's probably going to be my dinner.
You went from buying hummus to just begging for haichu.
I didn't have to beg, okay?
Sorry,
They
being
offered it to
supplied.
me.
Yeah. Anyway, that's kind of our episode today. It's a little bit shorter, which is nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have to go beat traffic now.
Yeah. Sorry for the loud neighbors downstairs.
Happens.
Yeah.
The plight of sound people. I understand now.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Bye.
This is Smörgåsbord. Have a food-related ritual, myth, or something strange you want us to explore? Send us a message through Facebook at Geek Happy Network. We'd love to hear from our fellow foodie listeners. And while you're there, remember to subscribe or follow us too. This show was created by Angel Lin and Mik Narciso, hosted by Angel Lin and Mik Narciso, editing by Mik, and logo by Angel. Come give us a listen at geekhappynetwork.com or look for us on your favorite podcast app. Oh, and be sure to follow us on Facebook or Instagram at Geek Happy Network.